Well, then I'm going to introduce you just in case somebody on this line might not be aware of how amazing you are. So I will do the honors here. I just want to introduce, first of all, my name is Karen Henry. I'm an LD2 with Opulence Global, and it's my honor to introduce tonight none other than Ramin Mascarlu. A little bit, and I'm going to take my time when I do this because every single one of these things is so absolutely important. Ramin has built 4 multi-million-dollar MLM businesses as a distributor, which is really important since 1990 to 2003. He founded MLM's most advanced MLM university, the Forensic Networker, which we're on here this evening. We have the honor of him teaching us directly. And he formulated that in 1999. Founded MLM's premier and most prestigious MLM company in 2005, and we all know who that is, Opulence Global. Voted world's top MLM compensation plan expert in 2010. Featured in Networking Times as the Master Networker of 2011. Featured on the cover of American Business Journal with Warren Buffett in 2013, voted world's #2 all-time MLMer from businessforhome.org in 2014. This is just nominated for Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year in 2015. Voted in MLM's first inductee Hall of Fame with Paul Zane Pilsner. I'm sure all of you on the line have heard of Paul Zane Pilsner in 2016. His company ranked top momentum company in MLM in the pandemic in 2020 by businessforhome.org. And voted top networker again by businessforhome.org in 2020. So without further ado, we get to learn from the best of the best tonight. We're so grateful to have you back in North America, Ramin, and so grateful that you could take the time with us this evening and share all your wisdom. So I'm going to turn this over to you.
Hi everybody, I'm using Sanaza's computer, so that's why you see her picture. Well done, Karen. It's always good to see you and one of our originals. And so it just shows the new people that we have a community. We have a nation with people been here for a long time. For you, it's been about 15 years.
2008. It's my home, not going anywhere.
Just that alone, I can tell you, especially when it comes to Southeast Asia, companies pop every few days, and they go out of business just as fast. Yeah. You know, it takes time to get wealthy in MLM. It takes time to get rich in MLM. And regardless of how good you are, how you follow the rules, it doesn't matter, how much you learn. And if the company is going to be out of business anyways, you never have a chance. So very first thing you need is a solid company. So if it takes 5 years to get rich, that's fine. I'm willing to do all it takes, but I don't do all it takes. And then the company goes down, because that's what 99.9% do. They'll never make it to 18 months, let alone 5 years. So the fact that, you're with a company operator, that as long as you do your part, the company will be here. And at least the main part is taken care of, where, all your effort is not going to go in vain, because all of a sudden you did everything right and you still didn't get your dream. If you watch my bio, you know that it happened to me 4 times in MLM and 1 time outside that. It's 5 times it's happened in my life where I did my part and the company could not sustain it. So I'd start all over again. So very important. This is not part of our agenda, and I'm really glad that at least you folks, our community, our nation, you don't have to at least worry about that part. You know, we're going to be here. We've been here 18 years. By the way, our 18-year anniversary celebration is coming out, and I got some crazy stuff we're going to announce in a couple of weeks. So it's going to be our 18-year. We're going to do some really, really nice at the head office, really luxurious. And, you know, we all get together. We're going to celebrate every year. And you're going to get the post out next day or two. I'm going to do a crazy promotion for 18th year. So stay tuned for that. So yeah, we're going to celebrate hard alongside working hard. All right. So I don't look at this business as a business. I look at this so much more than that. And I know, even though probably vast majority of our people, even our own nation, don't get it yet. But I'm a researcher. I'm the type that I'm constantly looking. One of the first things I learned in life, I think it was from the CEO of LinkedIn. I was on the plane, I was watching his documentary, and he was talking. And one of the first things I learned, you know, I never forgot, he says, only the paranoid survives. Good. It's very wise. It says, you want to make it big in big business, only the paranoid survives. Because you're alert, you're researching, you're never comfortable. You're constantly looking around you, you're watching, right? And I've been a researcher my entire lifetime. I was never the media guy. I never believed a thing that came out of a TV. Because I know that's one person's opinion or one side of a story. I always check all sides. I love researching things because I want the truth about everything. I don't want to get someone else. I'm not that weak that I could just watch a screen on my in my living room and I just base my life over that. I'm not that weak. Unfortunately, most people are. When I get a message, that's just a trigger for me to research it, because I know 100% of the time that there is another side to it. Not 99.9, 100% of the time, there's another side to it, especially the important stuff. If it's not important, I don't really care if it's true or not. But if it is important and it affects my life, my company, and my child, and you know, then I would research it. I would take the time to research it. So I've been doing that since 1991. When the 9/11 happened, I thought some stuff wasn't right. I started becoming a researcher since then. And I've been doing this for my entire lifetime. That's why I know so much about everything, because I'm always researching everything that's important. So tonight I'm going to share with you what's going to happen in this decade. And this is not, don't take this as bad news or negative, nothing. Look at it as triggers for you to be prepared for. And that's what I do. I look at what is planned for us, and it's okay, well, how do we protect ourselves from a lot of that? Because a lot of the stuff I'm going to talk about, these are the plans that comes from the World Economic Forum. And there's all these big organizations, the World Health Organization, World Economic Forum, you know, IMF, of course, got Bill Gates Foundation, Tom Hopkins Foundation, or CDC, all these guys that work together as United Nations. So I'm going to talk about what's planned for you. And if you have not been paying attention, most of you probably, this is going to be kind of heavy for you. And I will tell you how you survive it. So I actually named this training Surviving the Great Reset with Opulence Global. So if you don't know about the Great Reset, you probably heard something about it, just research it. A Great Reset is basically changing everything you know about living, how you live, everything's going to change. So I'm going to tell you what the Great Reset is. All of this stuff I'm going to talk about is on the World Economic Forum website. Now, the way they put it, you have to like kind of research it to get, because there's a lot there. You got to kind of look for it. You can go on YouTube, go on Rumble, you got to Google, you got all kinds of stuff to be able to get the details on it. Elon Musk talks a lot about some of this stuff, actually a lot of this stuff. So when I look at stuff, I say, okay, how does it affect opulence? How does it affect me in fact, our brand partners. And how do we, because if we know in advance, which I do, then we can do things to prepare for it. The same way when the pandemic hit, we were completely prepared for it. Complete. We didn't close one day. It didn't affect us 1 second. We kept the same ship ratio, fulfillment ship ratio as pre-pandemic, during pandemic. While everybody was talking about how logistics are a problem, we were prepared, so when some banking crisis hit, for us even, we were prepared. You never even knew about it because we were prepared. So this is what's coming. So if you're not paying attention, some of you guys are going to say, well, this can't be true. I mean, in my country, this can't happen. We live in Canada. We thought this was the freest country in the world. We found the last 3 years, and you all know, it's not. So it's in the name, The Great Reset. It's a book by Klaus Schwab. You can actually buy it on Amazon. He wrote that in mid-2021, but it's been in place since 1974. And a lot of the stuff that's in the book has already happened. And so here's what's happening. It's called Agenda 2030. I added a little part to the end of that, and I put the end of freedom. So basically Agenda 2030. So here's what's going to happen with the Great Reset. This is right on their website. It's where open, so everyone should go and read the World Economic Forum. And then there's videos on YouTube called the Great Reset, the World Economic Forum. You go do. I just been doing this for too long, so I spent hundreds of hours on this. So I'm going to give it to you in an hour, maybe 2 hours next week. And we're going to. So I named this training "Surviving the Great Reset" with Opulence Global. So the very first thing, you already heard about this, that they want to implement is called a digital ID. So pretty much you're not going to have a MasterCard or Visa physical card or driver's license or car ownership in the paper, none of that. All of that's going away. Your passport will be going away. Everything goes on a phone in some type of QR code. Now, you've seen that during COVID because that was the beginning of it. So everything is going into a digital format. And why? Well, because it can control us much better that way. Pretty much everything you need, from travel to buy gas to get on the internet, would have a digital ID to it. So if you're not being very good, then you won't even let you get on internet. And or if you're one thing that's talking about is, for example, using this as an excuse. Well, children are on the internet too much. So if you don't have a digital ID, if after a certain time, certain kids cannot be online, and we and I would say, well, that's a good thing, but the problem is it doesn't stop there. It stops everywhere. So the digital ID is basically a button on someone's computer, and your entire life is attached to it. And when somebody wants to stop you, they just press the button and you can't do anything. So digital ID, you probably heard it. It's coming in all countries, including Canada. That's the first thing that they're going to probably implement before 2025, because they need that to do other things we're going to talk about. So there's nothing we can do about this stuff. I'm just going to kind of go through it, and now I'm going to share with you how we can survive it. I'm not sure if we're going to get to that today, but I'm going to educate you on where life is at and what we're doing in Opulence to protect ourselves from it. Number two thing that's coming is called a social score. What a social score will do, you pretty much lose all your speech, freedom of choice. You've all heard of censorship bill that's in Canada and around the world. Every country is doing a censorship bill where they don't want people to be sharing their opinion on things. So if I don't like something and it goes against the government narrative, they don't want people to, so they're censoring it now. Soon, you're gonna have a social score. And it's like a credit score for the bank, except it's a social score. And if you're a problem for the government, for whatever the reason, you're gonna have a very low social score. And when you do a very low social score, just like a bank credit score, where you don't get a loan, the social score, nobody wants to do business with you, they'll shame you. So they already have this system in China, so it's coming. There's those days that, you get to choose that, okay, I don't want to take this medical procedure that they forced some people last 2 years. Right now it's a choice. And although in Canada, it was not a choice, it was mandated. But soon, anything that they say you don't decide to do, it's going to affect your social score. And when your social score is low, you're probably going to lose all the freedoms you enjoy right now, because nobody wants to deal with you anymore. The social score has to be the very top in order for people to want to do business with you, sell you stuff, buy stuff from you, become your friends, whatever the case. So social score is coming and it's attached to a digital ID. Number 3 things that's coming is called a carbon footprint. That's difficult for me. I have a lot of cars. I love cars, but here's the thing: the carbon footprint doesn't really just attach to cars. When you take a look at what they consider bad for the environment, it's all the excuse about the climate change. Its whole thing is about control. What you're going to find is that with the carbon footprint, when it's implemented for you, you're going to lose all your freedom for mobility, to travel. That means cars and other things. Now, they already have that carbon footprint for businesses. That's not new. That's been on for 20 years. Companies have to show how much damage they do to the environment. So it's been around for a long time, except they're bringing it now to people. So that's why they want to go electric for everything. And if you happen to have an ICE car, which most of you do, ICE is internal combustion, gasoline car. Soon you're going to be, they're going to give us a cap for how much carbon footprint you can have, how much travel you can do, how much you can drive, how much you can fly. And when you go over that, you're going to get fined or you're going to get restricted. So again, a lot of stuff actually happened during the pandemic, maybe not in your country. I know in our country of Canada, people were getting $800 fines for driving during COVID because they were not supposed to be driving. And it was just people driving because they were bored, this one. So this stuff is already happening. That's coming. Everything that you do will have attached to a carbon footprint, which stops people from travel. Again, it's all about taking people's abilities away and freedoms away. That's number 3. Number 4, there's a concept that you're going to hear a lot about. It's called a 15-minute city. What this means is that they already implement that in Oxford, England, and they're implementing it in, I think, 50 cities now in the world that just don't implement this. Basically, what they're doing in Netherlands as well is basically you work and live within 15 minutes of walking of your home. So you can't work downtown, and you have to live within 15 minutes walking distance of your home. So they tested this during COVID. They found it worked well because during COVID, a lot of people just kind of stayed around where they were. And again, based on their excuse of climate change, this is what condensed people to where they are and have them not travel. So you'd be forced to work and live within 15 minutes of where you live, or you pay huge fines or penalties. So that's, again, called 15-minute city. You should research that. So in your country, when that's going to be implemented. So I can tell you in some countries already there are disputes within cities who this is being implemented and people are angry and so forth, but it's coming. So and I don't know if they can do this because I think there's people going to be very angry. I mean, how do you live within 15 minutes? For instance, everyone's used to kind of traveling, all that, but that's the plan. Now, number 5, more pandemics and vaccine mandates will come. They've already called the next pandemic, which is 2025. They have a name for it. It's called catastrophic contagion. Again, this is, John Hopkins Foundation, Bill Gates Foundation. They already announced this, so you can look into that. And now, what's getting scary now is the next part. And let me tell you why the pandemics will keep on coming, because the last pandemic created 110 new billionaires. 110 new billionaires. It's too good. It's too juicy. I'm not talking about Bill Gates of the world that made 30 billion over the billions. No, I'm talking about new billionaires. So it's lucrative. This is going to continue to happen. They don't care about what's doing to the population, but so it's coming. And they've already called the next one is 2025. And then that brings us to the next point, WHO. Some of you guys may have heard this already 2 weeks ago. In the US, they voted on the WHO as World Health Organization. And they want to now rule the world. Of course, World Health Organization is again funded by Bill Gates and a lot of these elites. So now what they're mandating, and the US Congress voted on Wednesday, and they're still debating it. This is probably the most dangerous mandate we've faced so far, because it gives the World Health Organization all rights to mandate to, not to people, but to countries, what they should be doing if there's a pandemic. So right now, for example, if there's a pandemic, your country decides, your government decides what they should be doing. And most countries did not follow the lockdown format, and then 99% of countries didn't have a mandate for vaccine, but they didn't like that. So what they're doing now, Bill Gates did a video on this 2 months ago, now they're moving forward with it, which they want the World Health Organization to tell every government, what is a pandemic? They decide what's a pandemic. Two, how they should be dealing with it through mandates for its vaccines and lockdowns and pretty much everything. The World Health. So your government that you elected will not be able to decide how they want to deal with the situation. If, like in Sweden, for example, during the last pandemic, they never had a lockdown. They just said herd immunity, and they were right at the end of it. They were ridiculed at that time, but at the end, they said they were right? So they never shut down one day. Quickly, people came and they got it and became herd immunity. They would not be able to do that now, because now with the World Health Organization, what they want is they want to take full control of every country, and they decide what's a pandemic and what they should do with it. So again, I'm going to take you through this because I'm going to tell you how you can be prepared for this and how Uplist Global can help you survive all of this. We're going to talk about that in a minute. So I'll tell you what's coming. Next is, of course, this thing called ESG mandate. You probably see Elon Musk complain about this a lot. ESG is the environmental, social, and governance. It's a new thing, new scam they got going. Basically, it's the end of capitalism for the average entrepreneur. They don't want small, medium-sized businesses. They come up with a set of rules to make it impossible for businesses to survive. Now, during pandemic, millions of businesses closed. And who came in to fill the gap? It was Amazons of the world, right? That's what they want. They want to close all the small, medium-sized businesses and have the biggest corporations in the world take all of that business. So how do you do that? They come up with these rules that every business have to go through. They call ESG, which is E stands for environmental, and S stands for social, and G stands for governance. So companies like mine, we have to go abide to that, or we get fines and we get, or worse, right? So, if this becomes, this already exists, by the way, for the large companies, but now, recently, their definition, because initially it was for the billion-dollar companies, now they brought it down to the definition of a mid-sized company. The definition of mid-sized company is a company that does 30 million a year. Really? 30? So that's a mid-sized company. It's like a tiny little company. So if this comes to pass, it would affect us as a company, for example. So, this is how, this is where they want Amazons and Walmarts of the world to basically, take over. And it's easier to control when there's few players than if there's many players. They don't want me and you in business. They want us just to, follow and wait for their next move. So that's another thing that they want to implement. They've already done it for the bigger companies. Now they want to bring it down to smaller companies. So CBDCs, replacing the money. This is something that you're already hearing about this now. I don't know if you have somebody from Nigeria on this call, and they'll be telling you what happened to them 2 weeks ago. The Nigerian government, what is CBDC? central bank digital currency, pretty much the money that you have in your hand, doesn't matter what country, it's disappearing. It's all going to go away. So they're going to make it out into a digital currency on a phone, right? So you pay that way. It's not what you have right now, like MasterCard and Visa, your tap. It's not that. It's something completely different. So what the CBDC, is that it's what makes it so dangerous. It's programmable money. Basically, you will lose all control of your money. You're going to need permission to use your money for what you want. Could be a salary, but you're pretty much they will tell you how much you can spend on gas, how much necessarily on meat, how much, because the money's programmed. It could be expired or so. This is what CBDC is. You're probably thinking, how could that be? Just research it and you'll be shocked. It's already happening. Canada's releasing this. And here's what happened to Nigeria. It's already happened. They told all the Nigerians, there's 160 million people, bring your Naira into the bank to get some new notes. People, okay, they deposit, you get the new notes, except when they went to get the new notes, there was no notes. They gave them all CBDCs, the digital version. They never told them that up front. There's a number of problems with that. One of them is only 40% of Nigerians actually have smartphones to be able to use their money. They had limitations on how much cash they could bring out of the bank. It became an absolute chaos. And the reason why Nigeria is doing that is no different than any other country. They're all going to do it, is because they could control where you could spend the money. So from the government, I want you to spend the money in the country, not in Mexico, because it doesn't help the economy here. If you're if you got too much money, I don't want you to keep it in the bank or go buy Bitcoin with it, or I want you to spend it or it will disappear at the end of the month. So the whole idea of a CBDC is called programmable money. When if the government is helping, I don't know, billions of people or with some type of social assistance, well, now the government will tell everybody how they can spend that money and not how you want to spend that money. So that's coming. Research CBDC in your country to see when it's being released. Most of them are going to be released by 2025. Now, what I'm giving you is a long-term vision for these things. So when they are launched, they can't start doing all of this immediately. It may take a few years, but at least you know the whole base concept of what the philosophies are. Because that's what I've done for months and months and months. I researched why are these things coming? So now I know exactly how they're linked together. Next thing is you're going to find in total currency and banking collapse. Now we keep talking about inflation. Well, what inflation is, when the money loses its value. I'm sure in your country, homes have doubled and everything you buy is more expensive. Well, that's because your money is getting weaker. Soon, there's going to be some type of crisis, because for the government to always implement something, they need a crisis, right? To change all the travel laws, security laws, they needed a crisis in 911. If you're going to remove everybody on digital, then you need a pandemic, right? So at the end of the day, there's going to be a currency and banking collapse. You already know what happened last 2 weeks. 3 major US banks collapsed. This is by design. These are big. And now the next big one is Deutsche Bank and Credit Suisse, right? These are massive banks. So the reason is, it's hard to control when there's hundreds of thousands of banks. So the few on the top, by raising interest rates and getting banks in, because they know what the banks are doing. They know exactly how to get them in trouble, and they're all falling one at a time. And so what you're going to find, major currencies in your country, whatever money you have. I know in Canada, our Canadian dollars have devalued against some of the other currencies by 25% in the last 3 months. I know that because I do international business, and it's costing us so much more now to do things, because there was a time, Canada, US were about 25, 27, now it's almost 40, and we take a look at, but soon, even the US dollar is going to collapse. It's by design, everything's by design, because if that collapses, then they need to replace it with something. And that's where the CBDCs come in. And because otherwise people will not accept CBDCs because of programmable money, unless there is a crisis. So those are all part of the Great Reset. Buy the book, enjoy it. You probably get mad, but it's started already. And this is what they want. I'm not saying I'm hoping they're not going to be able to implement a lot of this. I think people will rise up. But this is the plan. Anyway, this is the plan. The last thing I want to talk about, you can expect a major attack or something. I'm not talking, military. I'm talking cyber attack. So you know this when the government, Biden the other day was talking. He says, "Yeah, cyber is a major problem." They always tell you in advance what's coming, right? They always say in advance, So, and why do they need a cyber attack? Well, they need a cyber attack for a number of things. They need to take the banks down. They need to take the grid down. They need to take things that forces people, into where they want them to go. So if the banks are down, you can't take money out, then hey, go just download this app and use this CBDC. All right. So that's how you force people to do that. So expect that. We're going to have some major news coming up. We don't know exactly when, but most likely this year. So basically, where it's going, what they're calling a new world order, is how do you control 8 billion people, right? This is how you do it with these mandates, ESGs, and all those things. So the new world order is full control over your identity with a digital ID. I know every country, whatever country you're in, you keep hearing about a digital ID. Well, now you know why. Full control over your activities with social score. So social score, again, you're angry, you can't just go vent on social media. Will affect your score just like a credit score. Full control over your mobility with carbon footprint and 15-minute city. So now your mobility is hampered. Full control over your rights with more pandemic and mandates. Full control over your health with a new World Health Organization power. So imagine, like I said, 90% of the country, they did not have a vaccine mandate, but now World Health Organization would say, hey, we think there's a pandemic coming, because they decide what is a pandemic. And the pandemic, by the way they have described it, it's not even just for people. The way they describe it, what is a pandemic? It could be for people, for nature, climate, and for animals even. So they decide, and then they got mandates. So World Health Organization wants to tell every country how they need to behave when they decide when the next pandemic is. Full control over businesses and jobs with ESG, this environmental social governance. Businesses will close continuously. I was on one of the biggest real estate companies in Canada. They had JIL, J-I-L-L. They had this major conference call this morning. So I got on just to see what's going on with the real estate market. And they do commercial. And they were telling us the crisis of the commercial real estate in Canada when it comes to offices, and how pretty much, they talk about 30 to 40% are vacant right now. And they don't see the future, how this could change, because the way things are is that companies have decided it's better for them if the people working at home, they don't need big spaces. So all these buildings are, so there is definitely a crisis, and it's gonna even get worse. So the ESG will close a lot of businesses. Of course, when these businesses close, the bigger guys just come in and take over that market the way Amazon did during the pandemic, or Walmart did during the pandemic. So full control over your money. They will do that with CBDC. They'll tell you and how you can spend it, and full control over your wealth. But because what happens is that when your inflation goes up, then we lose our wealth, right? You lose your wealth. So say, for example, you have $100,000 in the bank. Last year, you could buy, I don't know, you could buy a house, right? Let's just say it, right? And this year, because of inflation, that 100,000 that you kept saved over time, now buy something much smaller that used to be 80,000. So we lose as the inflation goes higher and higher, collapsing the currency. This is how you take the money out of people and make them more and hurt the businesses. Because at the end of the day, when you look at the Great Reset video, it's on YouTube. It's called the Great Reset World Economic Forum. Basically, the concept is that you don't need to own anything, just rent everything. They have a young guy, he's in a little condo. He orders a package, a drone delivers it to him. It's ridiculous. It's like a 4-minute video. And the concept is you will own nothing and be happy. He says it right there. You will own nothing, be happy. So that's what they want people to be. They don't want people to be strong and independent and entrepreneurs. CBDC, all this stuff I talked to you about will help them get there. Now, again, don't get depressed with this stuff. I mean, at the end of the day, we're going to get to a lot of stuff. I think could be stopped. Like a lot of stuff we can fight. You know, the people will fight. They will fight. You know, the governments have tried many things in the past. They failed at it. And during the pandemic was one. A lot of governments tried, including Canada, tried to force people to do things. They failed at it. So I'm just going to let you know, and then I'll take a look at what's happening. If this is the plan, all right, we have our openness business. So how do we protect ourselves? And I love what we have. This is the importance of being with a company that's 18 years old, because we have such a strong infrastructure that you could pretty much, you know, you can look at this and say, okay, it doesn't look good, but, you know, it doesn't have to affect my family. We'll get to that in a minute. So restricting your access to capital, even with your own money. I'm sure you guys heard about 12 years ago in Cyprus, people couldn't go to the bank machine, take money out. The banks just lock people down. This happened in Nigeria recently. It's happening right now. It's going to happen here, where you're going to go to the bank and your money is not accessible. They're going to say, oh, we had a cyber attack or something. The whole thing is about to do a transition. And here's something very peculiar. IMF, International Monetary Fund, these are the guys who make all the decisions. A clip of the video came out, and there's about 10 of them around the boardroom table. And there was a lady there, and they said the transition from CBDC from cash, as you know it, to CBDC will happen on Friday, and it happened on the weekend. I don't understand how it could be possible. Like, how do you switch people like that from cash to something else? Unless there's a crisis and you have no access to your cash, then you're desperate, then I guess you take anything, download this app and use your money. So those are the type of discussions that I'm listening to. And this is why we've always been so prepared for things, because I've done this since 25 years ago. You know, I'm always, you know, only the paranoid survives, right? I'm always here. I have a company to run. I have a child. You know, I have family. I have thousands of extended family and opulence partners. A lot of people rely on this. I take it on my shoulder. I say, you know what, be prepared. If nothing happens, great. But nobody knew there was a pandemic coming, right? And it didn't affect us because we have our infrastructure, we have our software, we have our logistics, we have our partners. You know, when this thing hit and it took out the world, we just, yeah, of course, I took 2 weeks to revamp the presentation, but our operation did not budge. You know, those are the moments you find out how well set up you are. Those are the moments you find out, you know, that you've done a lot of things right. You know, we have distribution centers all over the world. And, you know, I remember when we launched Thailand, you know, the decision was which distribution center should be sending them product. It wasn't like, oh, how do we get from Canada to there? So we didn't use Canada, we used Singapore to Malaysia, from Malaysia to Thailand. I know when Philippines, some of the ports were closed, you know, and so point is that we're so well set up because my job in the back office is find out what these large organizations are doing. And it takes hundreds of hours of research, hundreds of hours. I'm trying to throw something at you in 45 minutes, right? But this is basically the, you know, quick points on this thing. So we're not going to, today we won't get into the next part of this, which is how we're going to survive the Great Reset. Well, what I suggest you do, right? So is, I think I'm going to wait till next week to do how do you prepare and survive the Great Reset. That's the next part of this training. I think what you really guys need to do is do some research, because I know some of you guys are probably like, That can't be. That can't be. Just like had I told you 3 years ago that your home is not your home, and your government will tell you what you can and cannot do with your home. Your parents are not your parents, and government will tell you whether you could see them or not. If I would have told you that people could be dying on their own in a hospital, people closest to you, and you will not be able to see them, all of this happened. They were trying to tell me I couldn't see my 12-year-old son during COVID because he lives in another city. So had I, we thought your body was your body, but they forced most of the world into stuff they didn't want to do. So a lot of the stuff that we never thought was possible happened. And that was just the beginning of it. So I look at it as, okay, you know what? One thing I'm very real at is that this is someone else's world and they're all rest of us just live in it. There's nothing we can do about whatever their plans are. But the only thing we can do is prepare for it and be ready. So, and I feel great about that. After 18 years, I think we have such strong foundation, such strong foundation. If I told you the stuff I'm doing in the background to make sure this company works, doesn't matter what happens with Canada, and you'd be like, wow, like you really going that extreme. You would be saying to yourself, he is paranoid. It's a good thing. Only the paranoid survives. Only the paranoid. Because I can tell you, the companies that I'm looking at now, the companies that I picked up and I bought already, they did not think it was going to happen. And they were not paranoid and they were not prepared. And the vast majority of them are now closed, taken over. So that's where we're at. So what I'd like you to do, maybe a little homework just for fun, research. Now, a lot of the stuff, they're trying to hide it, right? When you go to Google, and they use the word debunk, because I guess, they don't want, don't want to confuse people. Just go to the World Economic Forum's website themselves, look at the Great Reset, go on YouTube is a good place to go, the Great Reset, and start doing something and suddenly realize, damn, like all this stuff is actually happening. One of the reasons why the electric cars have to come is because that's how you restrict mobility. It has nothing to do with the environment. If you know the damage disposing batteries every 5 years does to the environment, it's insane how bad it is for the environment. If you take a radiation device, they go buy Tesla, and I like Teslas, but you could see how it's not for the environment. What it is for is that you cannot stop an ICE car from moving. ICE is internal combustion car, which is gasoline cars. You can just go get gas and go. But digital cars, electronic cars, they have to be charged. And once your ID goes in their system, if they don't want you to charge it or they want you to charge it X amount, then they can fully control it. I will close the call tonight with this. San Antonio, Texas. The government, there's another concept called a smart home. You want to research that too. What a smart home is, because everything these days you buy, it's on the internet, right? Well, it could be centrally controlled without you knowing. Your fridge is online now, your stove is online now, your microwave is online now, your thermostats and online, the smart meter, right, for your electricity and so forth. So what they did until a few weeks ago, I don't know, a few weeks ago, but I just heard about it a couple of weeks ago. This is a whole city. It's a city of millions of people. They controlled the temperature and brought it up by 2 degrees to save electricity because it's hot over there. They did it centrally and nobody noticed. For weeks, nobody knows because nobody thought it was possible that from outside, somebody can control the temperature. So this stuff is happening. This stuff is happening. I'm not worried about it. I don't want you to worry about it. We just okay. So there's a lot of stuff coming and we just have to be prepared. The good news is there's a lot of things we can do. Just So if you prepared, a lot of stuff will not affect you. Actually, none of it could affect you. None of it, if you prepare. But if you're not prepared, you don't know what's happening, and all of a sudden there's a mandate like, oh, what happened? So, I'm letting you know that this is what's coming. You guys need to start researching it. And as you research, it says, okay, become more informed. It's okay, then if I don't like this, then what do I do? And then so in your business, Opulence business, you have ability to get away from pretty much all of this, all of it. That's what I'm working on in the background. Saying how do I keep talking about the wall around Opulence Global, the wall, the border. How do we have our people not walk on the hot coals that the rest of the world walk on, right? How do we give them choices the way we did through the pandemic, right? How do and that's what I think about. Corporately in the background, we're making a lot of moves too. You don't know about this, talking about launching new companies in Dubai and Panama and Cayman. And we're doing a lot of stuff in the background too, because if things happen, in Canada, we already saw we had this madman dictator here. What he did, we already saw that, right? So I lost my confidence in this country. I completely lost my confidence in this country. With the ESG format, which G7 is the countries you have to worry about the most, which Canada is part of. With the ESG format, it's very possible that in a year or two, our world headquarters will not be in Canada. They will be in somewhere else. So we don't have to be hampered by this junk that's going on. So that's what I'm getting prepared for. It's not for tomorrow. It may not be for this year, maybe for 2 years or 3 years down the road. Hopefully never. But only the paranoid survives. And everything I talked about, I didn't make this stuff up. This is on the World Economic Forum agenda. It's called Agenda 2030. And United Nations has this thing they call SDG, Sustainable Development Goals, they call it. Go research that, SDG, Sustainable Development Goals. There's 15 things that every company has to do, or 15 goals that they have. And when you take a look at their goals, and you're going to say, vast majority of those things that they have, this is United Nations, by the way, this is the UN. I don't like those things, right? This is not new. This came out in 2016. They're starting to implement it. But don't worry, I didn't do this to get you guys whatever. No, I'm actually excited about, because we're ahead of this. We can monetize this. We can, take advantage of this. We could prepare ourselves, because we're an 18-year-old company. We're not an upstart. We have abilities, capabilities. We can create anything and become the next Amazon. Be part of, be that hope for billions of people. That's, how did Amazon become Amazon? It was a website by one guy. We could become, Opulence could be that platform that the billions of people know about, and this CBDC that they want to come up with is good for us. Why? Right now, a lot of countries cannot actually, people don't have credit cards, right? And they can't really join Opulence or buy products because of restricted banking. And this thing goes on a blockchain. People become aware of blockchain, digital wallet. But that's already embedded in Opulence business. So I look at this as because we're so far ahead of everybody else. We're in the Web3 already, very much deep into the Web3 with the digital wallets and how our global reach and how we ship products and what we could do. I look at this, I say, okay, not only we can protect our people, we could really be that gateway, that blue lagoon in a red infested waters of the world. And so I look at this as an opportunity. And we'll talk about that opportunity maybe next week because we are out of time. With that, back to you,
Karen.
Yeah, Karen, yeah. So I say Carolyn. Karen, and I hope this
Oh.
wasn't too heavy. I know
Oh,
it wasn't,
no. You know what?
but it's
This
good news
is,
for us because we are prepared. It's good news
Yeah.
for us.
yeah, it's eye-opening, I'm sure for some. It's reinforcing what some of us have already been concerned about. And, I've been with you since 2008, and anything that you put out there on the table, you're always ahead, you're always aware, and you always deliver beyond what we could even possibly expect. So I don't have any fear about it at all. And nobody on the line should, but I can't wait for next week. Now you've left us hanging like a Netflix series. So we're going to be all like, oh my God, how do we deal with this for a week? But anyway, thank you for the vision, and thank you for the insights. And it is so good to be aware of what we're all in this world, and we have to be awake. So thank you for that. I am going to turn it over to a couple of little announcements here. So I'm just going to share my screen. Did you want to take any questions or anything, or are we just wrapping the call?
I'm open. I'm here. So,
Okay.
Gloria, don't be scared. We're here.
Everybody's probably like
It's-
deer in headlights.
Yeah, but the good news for you guys is that I am watching this very closely.
Yes.
And that's who you want to be watching this very closely. And we're so ahead of this. We are so prepared for this. So I'm looking at this as an opportunity, not as anything, as an opportunity, but you guys have to also start thinking, okay, then until next week, then we talk about how we survived the Great Reset. And that's the opportunity to be prepared.
Can't wait for it. Can't wait. So I think I'll just share my screen here and just talk a little bit about some important announcements. We've been talking about this, and this is just around the corner. We've mentioned businessforhome.org quite a bit in your bio, and they're the watchdog in the industry, and it's very, very important that all of us step up and go and download this Business for Home app on our phones and go to the poll and literally vote for opulence, because we do have the best compensation plan on the planet. We know that. That was one of the reasons that brought me into the business, even though everybody thought it would be the jewelry. It was definitely the compensation plan. I had related so much to you, having gone through what you went through with the 4 different companies and things collapsing around you. And I just saw your vision and how solid this was. And it's just, this is a testament to, again, 18 years later, and here we are with the best compensation plan in the industry. But this voting ends March 31st. So in a couple of days, so we want to show a presence. If you haven't yet done so, just hold your phone over this little scanner thing. As we see, everything's going that way. QR code.
But couldn't vote for us.
And of course, some of you have already started earning your variance bonus. So it's a really cool thing in the back office that you can go and check out if you haven't yet. It's under the dashboard, under your personal performance center, and it's called the variance bonus. Go and check it out, because there may be some money there that you don't even know you have, which has happened to me the other day. So that's great. And of course, we have our Build Assist still going. So for any LA Plus that has been launched as of March 1st and continuing now, we still have the opportunity to include a fashion mystery box worth $1,000, or like was requested by a lot of people around the globe. They asked for the 6 bottles of Fountain of Life instead, just because of shipping issues and just wanting to get that FOL out and turn it into profits right away. So that is available. It's until further notice. So act now, share that with your teams, make sure that people are aware that that change has happened. And our Opulence Visa prepaid card is coming to an end in 3 days. It's at the end of this month. March 31st. So if you do have commissions loaded on there, make sure that you retrieve them, and then you can go and register for your iPayout account. All you have to do is go to your dashboard, into your financials, into the iPayout section, register, follow the instructions, and if you need any help, just make sure you call the office, and the global team will help you. So that about wraps up the announcements. Of course, our Saturday training is on, and I'm not sure what the subject matter is going to be, but we'll announce it as soon as we have that. Make sure those Saturday trainings are amazing. Lots of tips and information. And if you can't make it, you can always get the recording in the back office. There's some fabulous, fabulous trainings back there for us. So with that, I'd like to thank you again, Ramin, for your insights. You're always so inspiring. You're always full of information, and we trust you, and we know you've got us. So that's, I guess, all we need to know, but we cannot wait till next week. That's not fair. So everybody.
I just voted, and my vote made us tie with the next company.
Oh, awesome. Yay. Yay. So everybody go in. I'm just going to put that up on the screen for a second. Put that QR code on your phone and go and vote. If the CEO can do it, you can do it. Make sure everybody knows we've got the best compensation plan created by the top #2 compensation plan expert in the world. So we got to let people know about it. So with that, I think we should wrap this call. It's all, the time always flies by so quickly. We're so grateful for you, Ramin, sharing your time with us. I know your hectic schedule is all over the world, and you're here with us. So I'm going to—
Thank you, Karen, for doing the great job that you do.
Oh, thank you. It's my honor, and I get to host you. What could be better?
Good night, everybody. To the billion and stay forensic.
To the billion. To the billion. Night, night, everybody. See you next.